Welcome to the Hurling Team of the Week. There's no place to start other than the goals, and which goes without saying. And Billy Nolan from Watford, he had to be the man. I think by virtue of that save that he made late on from Pat Ryan, which allowed Watford to see off the reigning Munster and All-Ireland champions and end a couple of years of heavy defeats in some cases for the Daisha against the treaty. Certainly the All-Ireland final, Munster final in 2020, and of course the 2019 league final, not to mention a humbling defeat in the Munster Championship of 2019. I think a couple of more Waterford players certainly deserve to go into the full back line. Caleb Lyons, who raided up the field and got a couple of scores for himself, he certainly deserves to be in there, as does Conor Prunty, who did a brilliant job on Aaron Gillan. And I mean, if you're going to stop Limerick trying to blot out the danger man himself from Patrickswell, is going to be a huge part of that, so they certainly get into that. There was a couple of other guys from that game that I looked at. Sean Finn was one for sure. Irla Daly, who was in the half-back and the full-back line at different stages. They didn't quite make it into my team. Owen O'Donnell of Dublin was somebody I was certainly considering putting in there because of the job he did on Donal Nugent of Antrim, but instead I've gone with Cian O'Callaghan. Brilliant display at cornerback from Keane. In the half-back line then, it's another dub, so I mean there's a common theme so far, Watford and Dublin, but I couldn't leave out Dara Gray. He got 3 points from wing back, gave a great display against Antrim throughout that second half, especially where he really stood up when Dublin took over and hit 12 of 13 points at one point to completely take over the game. John Conlon, a lot of people talked about his move to centre back and whether it would work or not work, but Brian Lohan certainly has seen something in the Clonlara man, has played him at 6 for the third game running, and he had an excellent performance in the pretty comfortable win over Laois for a finish. Beside him in the other wing-back slot is Barry Heffernan, who followed Conor Whelan of Galway everywhere around the pitch, scored a point himself, limited the Kinvara man to just a point himself, and that was a huge part of Tipperary getting that win over the Tribe. Fantastic performance from Barry Heffernan, and no doubt he's become a crucial part of Liam Sheedy's lineup at this point. Colin Malone, one of these players that slowly has improved himself over the past couple of years to become a really top performer for the Banner. He gets in the team, excellent performance against Laois, continuing on a great season that he had in 2020. Paddy Purcell of Laois on the other side. Now, it wasn't a great day for Laois, they didn't put up a great score, but Purcell drove through for a number of good runs, which is no mean feat considering they were on the back foot for a lot of the game. Also in that game, Diarmuid Ryan of Clare, he continues his really good performance. He was in the half-back line. I think Paddy Cadell of Tipperary, he had a brilliant first half, took over the game, I felt, in the first 15 minutes, possibly tired somewhat in the second half. Liam Sheedy did speak about the workload he's had in recent times, so he just about misses out, but if he had to follow up that second half with what he had done in the first half, he'd certainly be in here. Half forward line, I think Danny Sutcliffe was very unlucky to miss out. He scored 3 points, had a couple of wides as well and went off early with a bit of an injury, but Oisin Kelly of Offaly couldn't be left out. The faithful had a booming win over Carlow, and Kelly's 1-4 was a big part of that. At centre forward, I don't think there's any debate in the country over who would go in there. Nolan McGrath, great performance, the way he did that lovely little swift rise and hand pass over his shoulder to set up Jason Ford's goal, and then he had the wherewithal to pull on the ball to John Bubbles, or to Jason Ford in fact, who then handed the ball back for the Lockmore man to finish into the net. So he had a big hand in both goals for Tipperary, and his move back to the forwards from midfield could be a catalyst for something big for the Premier during this summer, but that remains to be seen. The other wing forward slot is taken by Brian Kincannon of Galway. Now, their forward line certainly did malfunction at times, but it was 3 points from Kincannon that kept Shane O'Neill's side very much in check with Tipperary going down the latter stages, and certainly nothing to do with Kincannon that they faded away. The Glymer Daly man has really kind of taken up the mantle as one of the stars in that team. In the full forward line then, Shane O'Donnell was an absolute cert. His solo goal, where he blitzed through the Laois defence and buried the ball into the bottom corner, gave him an automatic selection more or less. Aidan McCarthy and Alan Connolly make up the other two slots. Alan Connolly's had a great league for Cork. Maybe not too many people know about him. Had some impressive moments for the Cork under-20s in the past year or so. He scored 2 goals against Waterford the first day, came on and made an impression against Tipperary in the match at Semple Stadium, and scored 2-1 in the heavy win over Westmeath. Aidan McCarthy took over the frees from Tony Kelly during the win over Wexford, and the the brilliant 2013 hurler of the year, missed this game through injury against Laois. So McCarthy took over the frees and did it in style, got 13 points in total, 11 of those from frees, but he's really grown into the role now in the attack line, and certainly someone that Brian Lohan seems to be building his attack around. Plenty of other forwards that could have made it into this team. Patrick Curran came off the bench and scored 3 brilliant points for Waterford, so he was certainly someone on my mind. Ronan Hayes, he was good for Dublin, scored a nice goal and worked hard all day, was always out showing in front for the ball. Jason Ford won 1 from play and 4 frees. Bubbles O'Dwyer with 3 points. Ross King scored 1-2, I believe. And Patrick Horgan scored 2-4, continuing on his brilliance, which has been going on for years at this stage. So that's the team of the week here. Let me know what your selections are, who you agree and disagree with.